Hello. This is Antje from Byte Shuffle. Thank you for always watching our videos. This time, I've put together an overview of how to approach the Omni-Tell matchup when playing Doomsday, including gameplay strategies and sideboard considerations. There's also a link to the pile breakdown video in the description, so feel free to check it out. Here is the deck list we will be using this time. I'll keep since I can go all in on turn 1. I'm going all in. From here, I'll generate more mana for the combo. I'll use Night's Whisper to dig for a counterspell. Since I have Daze in hand, I can deal with my opponent's Chalice of the Void. The main thing I need to watch out for right now is Wasteland. Since I have no lands in hand, I'll include Lion's Eye Diamond in my pile to ensure I can still combo even if my opponent's Wasteland leaves me with no lands. I'll fill the rest of the pile with uncounterable cyclers and aim to close out the game quickly. I built my pile in the order of Edge of Autumn, Thassa's Oracle, Street Wraith, Lion's Eye Diamond. Since they might have drawn Force of Will, I'll use Brainstorm to put Daze back on top of my library for now. I'll activate Lion's Eye Diamond in response to the pile opener. I'll win with Thassa's Oracle. Before sideboarding, I'd like to review the list we used. This time, my opponent didn't reveal any information before the game ended. With ANT, there was a well-defined sideboarding plan for unknown archetypes, but I'm still unsure how to approach it with Doomsday. Unlike ANT, Doomsday has the advantage of facing fewer devastating hate cards. When the opponent's deck is unknown, keeping the mainboard as is might be the best approach for flexibility, so I played this game without making any changes. Before Game 3, I'll include my usual explanation. Since I don't know my opponent's archetype, I'll keep this hand. It seems flexible enough to handle Chalice of the Void or a fast combo. It looks like my opponent is on Omni-Tell. I'll counter it with Daze. Brainstorm in my hand is key to this game, so I'll pass the turn for now. I'll dig for Doomsday. I stacked the deck in the order of Cabal, Ritual, Lotus Petal. The Surveil effect sends it to the graveyard. I'll search for Doomsday. My opponent cast Ponder, chose not to shuffle, and drew a card. I'm going all in. From here, I'll counter it with Force of Will. I'll cycle to dig for a blue card. And with that, the adventure comes to an end. Before sideboarding, I'd like to review the list we used. First, the conclusion. I will explain it step by step. These are the key cards in Omni-Tell that impact the Doomsday matchup. First, various counterspells such as Force of Will, Flusterstorm, Consign to Memory, Force of Negation, and Spell Pierce. And Veil of Summer. To combat these, I'll bring in Flusterstorm, Duress, and Force of Negation. Next, let's talk about Cunning Wish. Surgical Extraction, which they can fetch from outside the game, can randomize the order of my pile. Some players may also fetch Trickbind from outside the game. Trickbind can counter Thassa's Oracle's triggered ability. Additionally, Consign to Memory can also be a threat, since it can counter Thassa's Oracle's triggered ability. To combat Cunning Wish and Consign to Memory, I often find myself relying on Jace, Wielder of Mysteries in these situations. Next, let's talk about Harbinger of the Seas. I want to have a certain number of lands in play, and keeping basics also helps against Harbinger of the Seas. So this time I'll keep them. In my previous sideboard approach, I removed basic lands, but if I'm planning to rely on Jace Wielder of Mysteries, I'll remove Daze instead. This is because my opponent utilizes Ancient Tomb to accelerate their mana, making Daze less effective outside the early game. Next, I'll cut Lotus Petal and Cabal Ritual. Since the matchup involves a lot of counter exchanges, I expect the combo to resolve after some back and forth rather than winning quickly in the early turns. Next, I'll reduce the number of personal tutors. The reason is that it reduces my hand size, which isn't ideal in this matchup. Lastly, I'll reduce the number of Edge of Autumn. This is because there isn't much life total interaction in this matchup, making it the weakest cycler. It's a bit weak, but since I have draw spells, lands, and disruption, I'll keep. The Surveil effect leaves it on top of the library. I'll dig for Doomsday. I stacked the deck in the order of Dark Ritual Fetch Land. Since this is the timing when my opponent might slam Show and Tell, I'll hold up Flusterstorm. I'll cast a discard spell next turn. I'll counter it with Flusterstorm. I took out Omniscience. I'm going all in. From here, I'll generate more mana for the combo. I should be able to counter my opponent's Show and Tell with Force of Negation. I'll include Night's Whisper in my pile to recover the resources I've spent. Since I'll likely need to fight through multiple counterspells, I'll include Duress and Cavern of Souls in my pile. Dress Down might be played preemptively. If my opponent holds on to it instead, I'll aim to win with Jace Wielder of Mysteries. I'll set up my pile so I can go for Duress, Cavern of Souls, and Thassa's Oracle first. If that fails, I'll have Jace Wielder of Mysteries as a backup plan. I build my pile in the order of Jace Wielder of Mysteries, Thassa's Oracle, Cavern of Souls, Duress, Night's Whisper. Since I don't have enough pile openers, I'll pass the turn. The Surveil effect leaves it on top of the library. I'll attempt to go for the win with Thassa's Oracle first. Lastly, I have an announcement. I'm posting the concepts behind the images used in my videos, as well as small flavor-inspired stories, in the YouTube community section. Additionally, I'm selling merch for the channel through the link in the description. If you're interested, be sure to check it out. Thank you for watching up to this point. I apologize for the many play mistakes. I hope to improve at MTG together with everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. See you next time. This is Antya.